They can't get stumbles like high. And it's going by my like one. They won't change. That's why they cover up. Nobody has to. Nobody even knows.
No, I'm coming back. Do you have a little chat by getting?
How it is. I'm supposed to be.
Like, oh, is it for a meeting and a run?
Doesn't matter.
I did it as a.
I like that.
You know what I like though? Everyone's there like because then in the cold, you're just like.
We.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not trying to
Yeah,
raise
no, it's wonderful. Thank you.
So, I'm not trying to be. Something.
Never, it's under the, pre-range.
Just.
Yeah. What a lot of people do.
Wanted to, but I think that it's gonna be like.
We don't put them out there on Sundays, they'll be on the website. Yep. That's right.
Over there.
They probably would be done switch at this point, it's still on the website.
Right here.
They just.
I don't know.
Okay.
What I do.
Yes, but we help. What about you?
I couldn't do polos.
Oh, she's making when she comes back. She'll be back in. Yeah.
That sure sounds like. How many of them listen to the ambulance? I was not one of those. I mean, some of them are good, but I wasn't. I wasn't a professor. I like the. I really like.
Well.
All right.
I know. So. Yeah.
Okay, what we'll do, stand up again, we'll have a moment of silence and we'll pledge to the flag once again. Thank you.
United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any public comment on agenda items only? New business. Adoption of the 2025 county millage rates as follows. 4.9631 for general purpose, 0.5142 for debt service obligation, and 0.54773 for county millage rate of 2025. Is there a motion? So moved. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Wait, question. Are there? I do. Please. What we're going to do is have Jennifer kind of go over everything for us, please. In other words, we had to call the motion.
The Board of Commissioners is prepared to adopt the 2025 budget from Monroe County in the amount of $147.1 million, including a general fund budget of $87 million. The proposed increase of 1.5 mils to the 2025 county millage rate remains unchanged. The millage rate is set to 5.4773 mils Just over 90% will be utilized for general purposes, and the balance will be used to satisfy our debt service obligation. As stated in the budget presentation, non-union employees will receive increases on January 1st, along with increases on their respective anniversary dates based on years and grade and position. County remains on task to implement the new salary grid for residual employees, which includes 22 instead of the current 31 pay grades. Since presenting the 2025 proposed budget, there have been no additions or deletions to the new personnel for 2025, totaling 20 new positions in various departments and 5.5 new contracted employees in the IT department. There were no changes to the long-term debt obligation, employee healthcare contributions, or annual retirement contribution since the presentation. Approved computer capital remains unchanged from the presented proposed budget at $407,535. There were new additions. There were a few additions and one subtraction to approved capital equipment, netting to an overall increase of $1,580. The budgets for capital projects and the county's capital reserve fund remain at the presented combined total of $3,099,408, with no changes to the items listed in that section, page 1. In grant revenue, there was a $200,000 increase in the category of public safety for additional grants awarded to the control center. The new total is $35.2 million. You go to page 2, you'll see the in the packet, we have some highlights for the revisions. Changes in the $87 million general fund budget, the net increase of $18,132. The top section shows the changes to revenues. Revenue increases included additional reimbursements for archives and the Conservation District's wage and benefit adjustments related to the salary study, and a grant award of $5,000 from the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. Revenue decreases include a $2,000 reduction in grant revenue and corrections for expenses incurred in the current year, and a very small decrease in the anticipated reimbursement in the DA's department related to changes in the rates of certain fringe benefits. The bottom section shows the changes to expenses. The expenses increases include $5,000 in grant expenses for archives, $51,709 in contracted services for the additional positions in IT. $45,000 was put into the contingency for prisoner transport expenses for the Office of the District Attorney. $10,213 in additional county contribution for the District Attorney's victim witness grants related to the salary study adjustments. And also in the District Attorney's Office, $7,066 in various operating expenses, including necessary equipment for a new partially grant-funded staff position. Expense decreases include $12,986 in the maintenance agreements line of the assessment office for a delay in implementation credit for their just appraised software. A combined reduction of $1,204 in the county match for domestic relations and RSVP due to salary study adjustments, and $4,920 for the corrections 2024 grant activity previously mentioned, plus a reduction in capital for items requested in 2025 but purchased since the presentation. In addition to the spread of wages and benefits for the salary study to the individual departments, there was a decrease of an additional $81,746 to the contingency for the difference in the initial calculations and the actual allocations. From page 1, you can see that the total budget the commissioners are planning to adopt in today's meeting is $547,562 more than the budget that they presented on November 27th. In addition to the changes that I've just gone over in the general fund, other funds had a net total increase as well, including an increase of $518,711 in program and grant revenue and expenses for the control center for their adjusted awards, including Act 12 and LSA money. an increase of $10,213 recorded in the victim witness grants for the additional county contribution that I previously mentioned, an increase of $3,524 in the Records Improvement Fund to support archives, a decrease of $2,805 in domestic relations expenses due to salary study adjustments, and a decrease of $213 in the county match for RSVP, as previously mentioned.
Are there any questions? That instead, all in favor signify by saying aye for the adoption of the 2025 county millage rates. Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Adoption of the 2025 Monroe County Public Library millage rate at 0.185914 mils. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. C, adoption of the 2025 budget in the amount of $147,111. Sorry, $147,111,198. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
All, any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Adoption of the 2025 liquid fuels budget in the amount of $457,167. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. One of the things that couple of things I just want to point out is that you heard that we had in our first meeting, the corrections to the duplicate, of a decrease of $48 million to HRP, which was a court case that's been going on for a while, and Centurion, $5 million. Oftentimes what happens is that the county can only get its revenues through taxing parcels of property. Other townships and some boroughs have the ability to institute an earned income tax, which we do not have the ability to do so. So oftentimes there's a little disproportion because earned income tax goes up, therefore they don't have to raise taxes. Unfortunately, we don't have that ability to do so. I discussed at the last meeting that we discussed the budget that the common level ratio is against us. Every year, the state puts out a common level ratio. And when we did our reassessment, we were at 100%. I think that was 2019. In 2022, the common level ratio went to 60.5. So if you were to go in and ask for and petition the court and the assessment board, we would have to give you the 60.5% of the assessed value of your property is what we would charge for the taxes. That has since gone down to 50.1. So what the county has to do is take on the task once again of a reassessment. The lucky thing for us is that we have good information. And so with that information from the last reassessment in 2019 is that we can do what they call a paper reassessment. So what you do is you look at your current pricing and what the values of the houses are, and then you can readjust your tax structure to meet that. And the commissioners have put forth that this is the direction that we're going to go, so people realize that in the future. The other thing is that we lost the American Rescue Plan monies that we had the ability to take lost revenue. We were able over the past 4 years to take $23 million to apply to lost revenue for the county. And we were able to prop up PVM with $6.7 million to keep that operating. So This is the last year that we were able to take any of the lost revenue from the American Rescue Plan. We took $2.4 million to help budget, make our budget whole. The good thing is that with the budget that we have in place, that we are able now to put some money back into the general fund. We have been taking money out of the general fund, I want to say, for the past 12 years. So we're trying to right the ship and steer it in the correct direction. Anything else? Dave?
Well, I guess on the American Rescue Plan, you got 2 million, but another line for the last 15.3. So I just mean it's greater than that was used to. Budget.
But we only had 33 million, so whether that was a carryover or not, I'm not 100% sure.
It's the unspent funds.
Unspent funds. So that's what we were carrying.
I just mean that was a part of the revenue in last year's budget, and it is not this year. So that just means it's 15 million.
Karen?
Yeah, the only thing,
I'm sorry.
one of the major things I think is important for the community and everyone to know is that in order to maintain the atmosphere, where we're at, the salaries, the working relations, everything that we're doing for the community and the people that live in Monroe County, taxes do need to go up a little bit at a time. Up until last year, when we raised the taxes a $500,000, it had been 12 years prior to that point. And in understanding that all our employees need a raise. They needed art. We needed to look at the salary chart. We needed to do some difference with that. That has been many years that hasn't been done. And it's a very, I think it was the right thing to do. I always called it right sizing when we lowered all the steps so people would get raises sooner instead of spreading everybody out. That wasn't working. So we made some very important changes. We've adjusted issues where they needed to be adjusted. And moving forward, I believe truly that 1.5 was the right thing to do in moving forward and then going from here. A little bit at a time, not a whole bunch, but 12 years is way too long, especially with the economy the way it's been over the last 15 years now, I guess. And thank you all for understanding.
Is there anything online, Callie?
No.
No, thank you.
Good.
The salaries will have to be adopted at salary board, so that's when you will see what the numbers are. I have to thank a whole bunch of people. Fiscal department, our HR department has done a yeoman's, or yo people's task of getting all this together. The Archer study, what we had found is over the number of years since its adoption, it's been kind of tweaked, I guess is a word you could use. Oftentimes, you know, an official or elected official would come in with a new job description and so on. And what we had to do was, instead of putting out fires, is we had to look at the thing as the project as a whole, and was able to redo everybody's classifications and how they come into a step program. The idea is that you will rise more quickly in the beginning, and then every 2 years you go up a step, and it's on your anniversary date. So look forward to that. If there's nothing else, is there a motion? Yes.
Yes, just a question about the 2024 paper reassessment. Can I understand that more generally for people out in the public to understand? So 2019, there was an assessment done by an agency.
Correct.
So this was just a paper reassessment.
No, this is what we're going to do, is a paper
It
reassessment.
has not been
It
done.
has not been done yet.
Okay.
We are still living with the common level ratio of 50.1.
The,
And what that affects, just so, I'm sorry to interrupt, for the most part, it affects commercial buildings and commercial, not homes. But what we're doing is whenever we give somebody the common level ratio, it shifts the burden onto others. Okay? So, like I said, that HRP court decision, you know, the county is $216,000 of that. If you equate that to the school taxes to the East Stroudsburg School District, it's millions. So then that has to be spread out to other people for a tax increase.
so for education of oneself, I need
Yeah.
to look up the HRP court decision, probably to read that, or I don't know, to understand that better. So in terms of examples for the people to understand what that millage rate might be on their tax bill coming forward, is there any examples of that, or?
Trusting the agenda.
Pardon?
No, after the reassessment? Or are you talking, what's your question? I'm sorry.
If there's a millage, if there's an increase, what would be a possible example to the people to understand what they might expect in their next tax bill that come out of the county taxes?
If your value is out of $100,000, it would go up $150. Okay,
It's Pleasant Valley's going through that, that's my,
right, but it's
hot topic.
a hot topic everywhere.
Yes. Okay, thank you for that, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
You talked about step grades. So I'm gonna ask this question on behalf of the sergeants and lieutenants out there at the correction facility. They've been trying for a long time to get clarification on how they progress through their steps. Because certain sergeants are actually outside of their grade getting paid above while other people are trying to get their pays adjusted. How do I go about getting a copy of that step grade at the beginning level and how they move through the steps? How do I get a copy of that?
It has not been adopted yet.
So do we know when it would be, how I would get a copy?
Well, when we have the,
Is this a union? Is that?
well, no, the sergeants are.
Sergeants, and it's something I've been, I started researching after our first prison board meeting. So that will come out and they didn't have a grid. I mean, only, some of the unions had grids, but there was no step process. It was simply COLAs. So this will institute such a plan that,
I'm just expected and how do I get a copy of it?
yeah, so we vote, is it January
Sixth.
6th is our meeting? That's when it will be
Then it will
voted.
be
It's going to be public.
distributed.
Yeah, everybody will get a copy.
And then just a curious question for the board. Where does Monroe County stand on the property tax burden per homeowner in ratio to the rest of the state? What do we rank?
The worst in the state.
The highest property tax ratio. Okay.
Yeah, we have the high.
The highest tax. Okay. So,
But if you look at a graph, you can see your school taxes, county taxes, township taxes.
Yeah, the bulk of it is the school. Yeah, it's not about, as far as is simply county, I wouldn't say we're worst, but I have to look. But the overall property taxes,
Our elected officials
the
are
word.
trying to make change at the school level or because that's, I had the experience. I understand what you're saying.
it's a difficult job. I just wanted to make sure you guys understood we were already.
That has to change for.
Property tax burden per homeowner in the state. I just wanted to make sure you guys understood that while we're voting to increase taxes. That's all.
We're very well aware
We
of it.
are aware.
It cost us 17 million for children and youth, 22 million for the correctional facility,
Yeah.
So all these things add up.
Our employees, our workers in Monroe County deserve pay.
We deserve to be a priority, especially people who work in some type of law enforcement, like the sheriff and correctional facility, keeping the community safe, but a lot of times it seems to be bury their head in the sand and don't prioritize. So
Thank you.
We are
Is there a
working.
motion?
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
10:30.